What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about Alibaba stock again. I am loving this stock right now and it is crazy. It's got so much stuff going on. It had a crazy week where it went up in one day around 14% and then crashed back down another like 6% the very next day. So this stock is a roller coaster of emotions, and honestly I don't really mind it. It is one of my larger positions in my portfolio, but I just love kind of everything that I see going on with the company, and it's very interesting, how things are playing out with the market, especially with the market sentiment right now. So we're going to take a look at the news that has caused this dramatic move in the stock, and then we're going to take a look at, some price targets, things that we've always been looking at, and discuss overall my opinion on these events and kind of what's affecting them overall in the market and everything going on. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below, and if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. First thing up here, this is the 5-day chart for Alibaba, and right now we are sitting at almost $110. But at the start of the week, you can see we started off around $99. So overall up a $10 move in the last 5 days, which is huge. I mean, you've got a 10% return just in the last 5 days, but we had a low here on Monday of around $98. And then over the next kind of day or two, we kind of just traded up, slightly around to 105-ish, 104 in here. And then on Tuesday into Wednesday, we saw the stock basically just gap up and start gapping up and ripping to the upside. And a lot of this came on the news that we're going to look at here in the next article. But the stock kind of topped out around the 120 mark. So you can see it went all the way, that's a 20% move from basically $100 all the way to $120 in basically 3 trading days, which is crazy to think about, as a lot of this good news and starts getting priced into the market around Alibaba stock. And I'm talking about good news around China, talking about working with the US, things like that. This stock is basically prepared to rip to the upside. But what we see over the next day is it also has a lot of downward pressure. There's a lot of people who are rooting against China and don't want things, Chinese companies to succeed. And overall, that pushed the stock down, all the way back down to $110, and it kind of just evened out there the rest of the week. Even though the market had a lot of weakness the last 2 days, Alibaba really traded sideways, which is kind of huge, especially when the start of this crash, we saw a lot of these Chinese companies get hit when the stock market was going down, 1 to 2% in a day. These Chinese companies like Alibaba would be down like 5% in one day. So it's crazy to think that, the stock market went down, the S&P 500 went down like 2.5% on Friday, but Alibaba stock basically just traded sideways and did nothing on Friday. So that's kind of crazy. It shows a little bit of market sentiment change for some of these, more speculative companies like Alibaba. Here we have an article by Barron's, and it's talking about this roller coaster that I'm talking about with Alibaba stock and what's kind of going on with the stock. So Alibaba ticker gained 14.7% on Wednesday, bringing it to its highest level since mid-February, which is kind of crazy to think about. The gains come as the prospects that the regulatory pressures have wiped away more than $500 billion worth of Alibaba's market cap since late 2020 are finally clearing. So basically what they're saying there is, right, a lot of the regulatory pressure that we've seen from China, from the US, that's really driven the stock price down by the market cap down by $500 billion, is finally starting to show some easing. And this has actually happened before. China talked about being more willing to work with the US, the SEC, and kind of fit our regulations. And this has happened before, and the stock is kind of ripped up and then tanked back down. So it's kind of interesting, that that's not really touched on. I mean, there is a little bit of mention in here, but a lot of people don't, realize that a lot of this downward movement in Alibaba stock has been driven by, just a lot of movement away from these more spec stocks, as well as, the bad news that's kind of come along with it. So why did Alibaba spike up almost 15% on Wednesday? And all of that move comes on the back of Chinese regulators giving green lights to video games. And this has been a sector within China, the video game sector, that has been basically what they say in this article, vilified. And vilified in the sense that basically China sees a lot of these video games as creating violence, within a lot of the youths of the country, as you might call them, and basically they don't want that. They also don't like the ideas that a lot of these video games spread, where there might be a lot more freedom than what China is used to and things like that. So overall, that sector has had a lot of regulation, and that affects Alibaba in a way because Alibaba is basically, any regulation and any change in regulation, any easing of regulation, that's going to have a huge effect on Chinese companies, especially when they're exposed to U.S. markets. So overall, that is huge, and kind of is what created that 15% move in Alibaba stock. So why is it that Alibaba moved back down by over 6% the very next day? And that comes on the back of news that the China Securities Regulatory Commission has not conducted work for a possible Ant IPO. So Ant is basically what used to be Alipay. They kind of have it in this one group, and it was started by Jack Ma. So it kind of has to do with their financial sector and some of the financial, avenues that Alibaba is pursuing. So the China Regulatory Commission, them not looking into and potentially starting this IPO, at least talks of this IPO work, is kind of huge because, right, that's the deregulation that the market's looking for in terms of video games, but they also haven't worked and actually started making moves on that front with Ant. And Ant is basically 1/3 owned by Alibaba. So this is going to have a huge effect on the stock, and that caused the stock to drop by over 6%. So why exactly did Alibaba fall by over 6% the very next day? Like I said, Alibaba's been on a roller coaster. It's been up and down, and this is the reason that I've highlighted here. So China Securities Regulatory Commission said it has not conducted work on a possible Ant IPO. So basically, they are saying, and they said the very next day, that they have not worked and started working on on IPOing Ant Group. So that obviously is going to have a negative effect because it's kind of like saying one thing, right? We deregulated all these video games, but we also haven't started working on an Ant IPO. So the market didn't love that. They would love to see those things in, congruence, a lot of positive approvals in terms of video games, and then also working to IPO companies that are involved in that sector. So the market didn't love that, obviously. Personally, I think that's kind of a little bit of an overreaction, but I think a lot of that also has to do with the overall weakness in the market that we were kind of seeing the last couple days, Thursday and Friday. So I think that kind of helped to drive that down. In normal situations, you might have only seen like a 2 to 4% move, but since the market was overall weak, I think we saw a little bit, a little bit stronger of a downward move with that news. So we're going to conclude this video by looking at some price targets for Alibaba. And this website, this is MarketWatch, which is normally pretty good, but for some reason they always, whatever website you go on, they kind of screw up Chinese stocks. They put a dollar sign here, and this is not USD, this is Chinese yen. So we're looking at basically 1,001 Chinese yen and an average of 1,009. So we're going to take that and we're going to convert it into US dollars, which 1,001. So basically we're looking at around $150 is really what we're looking at. So this is a $150 price target. And like we saw, a stock like Alibaba has a huge reaction to any sort of news. So I've kind of gone over this in past videos, but when you look at a stock like this that has a lot of negative news around it, once that script flips for a stock like that, it spikes up like crazy. We see alone, right, there was a 20% move from basically Monday to Wednesday by end of day. And then obviously the stock retraced a little bit. So we only ended the week with a 10% move. But you have a couple changes in the market like that where you get those 20% moves, and Alibaba could easily be at a $200 price target or basically price value. And that's kind of crazy, and a lot of these, I don't think basically analysts are really taking that into perspective. They're not considering the fact that, hey, what if the market sentiment changes and we start getting a little bit of positive movement in the market, and then on top of that, what if Alibaba comes out with news where they say, we are going to work directly with SEC to make sure that we're basically meeting US regulations with our Chinese companies. Like that alone could probably send Alibaba up 20 to 30% in just a day, So a lot of these price targets, again, in my opinion, are kind of low. I personally would not put it out of the realm of possibility, especially if the market flips. Like I said, if you keep having kind of recession talks and things like that, then Alibaba, will continue to kind of stay leveled off, if not slight downtrend. But if the market flips and we see a lot more money coming into the market and investor confidence and things like that, then we could easily see by the end of the year or within a year from this date, Alibaba stock, in my opinion, being around 175 to $200. Again, that's just my opinion. Obviously, don't take stock advice from someone on the internet just making YouTube videos, but that's what I see, and that's why I personally am invested in Alibaba stock. So overall, like I said, make your own opinion. If you like Alibaba stock, then let me know in the comments down below. If you don't like Alibaba stock, also let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts and opinions on this stock and what other stocks you're buying. So as always, if you like the video, make sure you drop a like down below, and if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button, and have a wonderful rest of your day.